Chosen one, I need you to pause whatever you are doing and give me your full attention right now. This message is not finding you by accident. You didn't click on this randomly. Something inside you was pulled here because at a soul level, you already know there is more to you than what this world has ever reflected back. And today, I'm going to put words to something you've felt your entire life, but could never fully explain. You have always felt different. Not better than others, not worse, just different. From a very young age, there was a quiet awareness inside you that you didn't fully belong here. Even as a child, you sensed things others couldn't. You noticed emotional undercurrents, unspoken tensions, hidden pain. While others seemed comfortable blending in, you felt like you were observing life from the outside, playing a role you never fully rehearsed. And for a long time, you wondered if something was wrong with you. Let me tell you this clearly, so it reaches the deepest part of you. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are not random. The pain you've carried is not proof of weakness. It is evidence of depth. The loneliness you've endured is not because you are unlovable. It is because your inner world has always been far more vast than the environments you were placed in. You've tried to explain this feeling before, haven't you? That sense that you're homesick for a place you can't remember, that you're carrying a weight no one else seems to notice, that even when life looks fine on the outside, something inside you feels unresolved, unfinished, as if you came here with instructions that were partially erased. People told you to be grateful, to stop overthinking, to just live like everyone else. But no matter how hard you tried, you could never fully silence that inner knowing. Here is the truth most people will never tell you. Some souls are not designed to simply blend into this world. Some are sent into it with purpose encoded into their being. And when a soul like that is placed into a system that rewards numbness, conformity, and ego, it will naturally feel friction. That friction is not failure. It is a signal. You've likely asked yourself why life seemed harder for you than for others. Why rejection followed you even when you meant well. Why certain people felt uncomfortable around you without any logical reason. Why you attracted both deep connections and sudden betrayals. Why your heart felt open yet easily wounded. This wasn't because you were nahwa. It was because you carry a frequency that exposes what is hidden. Light doesn't have to attack darkness. It simply reveals it. And not everyone is ready for that. There are forces in this world that thrive on unconsciousness, on fear, on division, on people never waking up to who they truly are. And anyone who carries awareness, compassion, and truth without even trying becomes a threat to those systems. That is why you've been targeted emotionally, spiritually, and sometimes even physically. Not because you are weak, but because something about you disrupts what is false. You may have noticed this pattern. The moment you start to rise, something tries to pull you back. The moment you begin to understand yourself, confusion appears. The moment you step into clarity, resistance shows up. You thought it was bad luck. You blamed yourself. You assumed you were doing something wrong. But what if the resistance wasn't a sign to stop? What if it was confirmation that you were moving in the right direction? I am not here to inflate your ego. I am here to remind your soul of what it already knows. You are more than the labels placed on you, more than your past mistakes, more than the trauma you survived. There is a reason you cannot live shallow. There is a reason lies make you uncomfortable. There is a reason your conscience is loud. There is a reason you feel called to truth, even when it costs you comfort. And here is where I need you to stay with me. Because what I'm about to unfold next will connect every loose thread of your life. The loneliness, the rejection, the empathy that feels overwhelming, the sense that you're here for something specific, yet you can't quite name it. None of it is random. None of it was wasted. There is a divine explanation for your difference, and once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it. You were never meant to disappear into the crowd. You were meant to remember who you are. And the very fact that you are listening to this right now tells me that the remembering has already begun. Stay with me, chosen one. because this is only the beginning, and what comes next will change the way you see yourself forever. From the moment you entered this world, the battle quietly began. Not in a dramatic way that others could see, but in subtle patterns that followed you year after year. You felt it long before you could name it. That sense that life seemed heavier for you than for those around you. That certain struggles kept repeating while others moved forward effortlessly. This was never coincidence. It was evidence. Let me show you the signs that have been marking you since childhood. Not as punishment, but as identification. The first sign was a loneliness that never made sense. Even when you were surrounded by family, friends, or people who loved you, there was a part of you that felt unreachable. Not because you didn't care, but because no one could quite meet you where you lived internally. You weren't missing people. You were missing resonance. Your soul was tuned to a different frequency, and most environments simply couldn't match it. The second sign was your empathy. Not ordinary kindness, but an overwhelming sensitivity to others' pain. You didn't just understand how people felt, you felt it in your body. You absorbed emotions that weren't yours and carried them as if they were. You walked into rooms and instantly sensed tension, sadness, or dishonesty without a word being spoken. And because of that, you often left interactions exhausted, confused about why you felt drained when nothing obvious had happened. This wasn't weakness, this was perception. Then came the rejection. Not earned, not explained, but immediate. Teachers who misunderstood you. Authority figures who projected onto you. Family members who treated you as if you were different without knowing why. Friends who turned distant once you grew more aware. You tried to fix yourself. You tried to be smaller, quieter, more agreeable. But no matter what you did, some people simply could not accept you. That rejection wasn't personal, it was spiritual incompatibility. Light doesn't blend into darkness, it exposes it. And exposure makes people uncomfortable. Another sign was your intolerance for falseness. You could never pretend for long. You couldn't wear masks without feeling sick inside. Small talk exhausted you, lies, even polite ones, felt heavy. You were often labeled intense, too serious, too deep, too sensitive. But what they were really saying was that your presence disrupted the illusion they were living in. You saw through things others needed to believe in to feel safe. You also noticed that just when something good was about to happen, something would intervene. Plans collapsed, relationships imploded, opportunities vanished, health issues appeared at the worst possible times. At first, you blamed bad timing. Then you blamed yourself. But over time, a pattern emerged. The resistance wasn't random, it was strategic. The closer you moved toward alignment, the louder the opposition became. This is where you need to hear the truth clearly. Darkness does not attack what is insignificant. It does not waste energy on those who pose no threat. In Scripture, we are told that the enemy roams like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Lions don't chase insects, they target what has substance. The pressure you've experienced is not proof that you are failing. It is confirmation that you carry something valuable. Lucifer is not omnipotent. He does not control your life. He reacts, he responds to light. He studies patterns and deploys resistance where awakening is most likely to occur. That is why the attacks increased when you grew more aware. That is why confusion followed clarity. That is why isolation intensified as your consciousness expanded. It wasn't because you were losing your way. It was because you were getting closer to it. The Bible speaks of spiritual warfare not as myth, but as reality. It tells us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against unseen forces. That explains why some of your hardest battles couldn't be solved logically. You couldn't think your way out of them. You couldn't fix them by effort alone. They required endurance, faith, and inner strength you didn't even know you had until you were forced to use it. But here is where the shift happens. You were never meant to see yourself as a victim of these attacks. You were meant to recognize yourself as the reason they exist. Every attempt to silence you, delay you, distract you, or break you was proof that your presence mattered. You survived things that should have destroyed you, not because life was kind, but because something was guarding you even when you didn't realize it. The enemy tried to convince you that your pain defined you, that your sensitivity was a flaw, that your loneliness meant abandonment, that your struggles were punishment. But the truth is the opposite. Your life has been hard because you were built to carry light into dark places, and darkness always resists what threatens its dominion. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is being awakened in me?" You stop shrinking to avoid conflict and start standing with clarity. You stop internalizing rejection and recognize it as confirmation. You stop fearing the battle and realize you were trained through it. You are not here by accident. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are targeted because you are becoming aware of who you truly are. And awareness is the one thing darkness cannot survive. What happens next is not something you force. It is something that unfolds the moment you stop resisting who you are. Awakening does not arrive like lightning. It arrives like remembering. Subtle at first, then undeniable. You begin to notice that the fog you've lived in for years starts to thin. Decisions that once felt confusing become strangely clear. You no longer second-guess your intuition because it begins proving itself again and again. You don't know everything, but you suddenly know the next step, and that is enough. One of the first changes you will feel is protection. Not that challenges disappear, but they stop penetrating you the same way. Things that once shattered you emotionally no longer have the same power. Words bounce instead of piercing. Attacks lose their grip. You realize that something inside you is anchored deeper than circumstances. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. When your inner world comes into order, external chaos loses authority over you. Peace begins to replace anxiety, not because life becomes easier, but because you stop living in fear of yourself. That constant sense of danger, the hyper-vigilance, the feeling that something bad is always about to happen slowly dissolves. In its place comes a quiet trust. You feel guided even when you don't fully understand the path. And for the first time, you realize that you were never abandoned. You were being prepared. Your relationships will begin to reorganize, and this is where many people get confused. Some connections will fall away quickly, others slowly. People who could once access you will suddenly feel distant. Conversations that used to flow will feel forced. This isn't punishment, it is resonance shifting. As your frequency rises, what cannot meet you there must exit. Let it. Holding on to misaligned connections will only drain you. And in the spaces they leave behind, something unexpected will happen. The right people will start appearing. Not many, but real ones. Souls who understand you without explanation, who feel familiar in a way that logic can't justify. You will also notice an increase in solitude. This often scares people, but for you, it will feel different. Less lonely, more intentional. You will begin to crave quiet, not because you're withdrawing from life, but because silence becomes nourishing. In solitude, your clarity sharpens, your energy restores. You reconnect with something sacred inside you. This is not isolation, this is alignment. Your mission will begin to make itself known, not as a grand announcement, but as an inner pull you can no longer ignore. You will feel dissatisfied with anything that drains your spirit. Work that once felt acceptable will start to feel unbearable. Environments that suppress truth will exhaust you. You will feel called toward purpose, even if you can't yet name it. Follow that pull. It is not random. It is your soul remembering why it came. With awakening comes responsibility, not to save everyone, not to carry the weight of the world, but to live in truth, to refuse to dim your light to make others comfortable, to serve without self-destruction. You are not here to burn yourself out proving your worth. You are here to anchor light by being who you are consistently, authentically, and courageously. That alone shifts more than you realize. You will begin to recognize others like you, not through words but through presence. There will be moments of silent recognition, instant trust, deep familiarity. These are not coincidences. They are connections between awakened souls who are being guided toward each other. Alone you are powerful. Together you are transformative. And these connections will arrive at exactly the right moment. The future ahead of you is not easy, but it is supported. You will face challenges that stretch you, but you will not face them unprepared. Every step forward activates new strength. Every test reveals new capacity. You are not late. You are right on time. And the very fact that you have made it this far means you are capable of carrying what comes next. If something in you is stirring right now, if this message feels less like information and more like confirmation, honor that. This is your sign that the remembering has begun. Write 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are stepping into alignment with who you truly are. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you stay connected to messages meant for those walking this path. And if you know someone who has always felt like they didn't belong in this world, share this with them. Light recognizes light, and together we remember.